Hello and welcome back to Serie A Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake
and Matt.
You know what time it is!
I can't tell you guys enough how much you've been my internal monologue when thinking about football for the last year.
Yes, amazing! We get to record while drinking some wine. Jake and I will have a very special soft spot for Salernitana.
We love him.
We love him. Stop zooming in on Allegri's face, bro. You're gonna make
How
me
are you
break.
exposing me?
Because you're gonna make me break, man. Yo, and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode number 171, and we're your favorite hosts, Matt
and Jake.
And we're here to tell you all about Matchday 34 in Serie A, where a lot has happened, notably Napoli jumping Inter for that first place, and obviously being knocked out of the Coppa Italia in the semis against Milan, which we didn't manage to cover in the last episode because it was right before that game, but here we are now.
Yes, you can imagine what that was like after we drank a bottle of Di Serrano and watched the game on the sofa. We couldn't quite believe it when Jovic scored that second goal. In fact, the celebrations were kind of muted because we weren't sure what the hell was going on and if there was a hand involved in the build-up, but it turned out to be Barella's. That was nice. That was enjoyable, to be honest.
That was well needed, is what it was.
It was.
It feels like the Super Coppa Italiana was so long ago, obviously in the beginning of Conceição's tenure, and we hadn't quite tasted victory that sweet in a long time. But now the Coppa Italia final, it's shaping up to, I wouldn't say make this a successful season for Milan, but definitely give the fans something to enjoy during this dreadful season.
A bit of damage control over there, and it's a little bit... It's nice for Milan fans to have this over Inter, right? The bragging rights that they're the ones who took the treble out of their hands. In reality,
It's nice. It's nice for us.
For Milan fans,
There's been a lot that took place this week. Obviously, as we said, Napoli did go first. So Inter's treble, well, it was finished already, but now as our title implies, they might end up with 0 titoli, which we'll get into very soon. There was also a lot of drama for the top 4 spot, as Bologna lost that spot after drawing to Udinese. Juve retained that spot. Lazio had the opportunity to go level with Juve, but they drew 2-2 to Parma. Como survived. It was absolutely crazy. Before we get into any of that, goal of the week, I think we could do a 3-1 and say it at the same time this week.
I haven't decided.
You haven't decided.
3-1, Mandragora.
If there's a Ravusciata,
you're
it's
picking
the goal of the week.
That's it.
It's as
Nico
simple as
Gonzalez's goal was really nice.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Is it Mandragora or Mandragora? Mandragora.
No, I think in Italian Mandragora. I think like in Maltese we tend to elongate the A's. Mandragora. Exactly, Mandragora would be what the Brits call him, probably what the Prem heads would
Rolando.
call him. Yeah, Rolando Mandragora. Stunning. He controls the ball with his back towards goal. Ball gets a bit high, and he just overhead kicks it into the back of the net. Gorgeous goal over there.
Was that nicer than Castellanius' last week?
It's so tough.
Bro was emoting over
because
here.
we missed that because
we were recording.
That was just the weirdest time for us to record, to be honest. But the Pope really stuck one on us that day. I think I prefer Tati's because it's from more of an angle. First time.
This is nice. This one because he knocked it upwards, and I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Very Rouen Jean.
Yeah.
Before we dive in, a classic thank you to our media partners, Benevo Bid. Oh no, where's the Tot ticket? Snooze you lose. Yep, it's on its way to Australia, I believe. So thank you to hopefully one of our Australian listeners. Do check them out, guys. They've got a lot more in store for you. Check out their exclusive auctions where you can bid on autographed items from top players, including match-issued kits. Most of the proceeds go to Puttino Cares. Hit the link in our description and get your bids in.
Yes, some nice football memorabilia, guys. Get your hands on it.
Yeah. And shout out, obviously, to Joseph and Ed, who are behind that beautiful campaign.
Yeah, and you don't need to feel bad about spending so much money on a football kit, even though you might find a bargain. Because, yeah, as Matthew said, most of the proceeds go to charity, so you'll actually be doing a good thing by buying a kit that will go straight into your collection.
Exactly. If you're one of those people that just likes to donate, might as well do this instead and get something in return.
Yeah.
If you guys are new here, make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, and rate us 5 stars on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, with the weekly episodes covering every single match, every single team, every single week, and even have weekly bonus tactical analysis episodes called Tactics Imperium by John Leah. If you really love us, become a patron. It's $3.99 a month, and you can win a free kit if you win our fantasy league. Do I have any updates on the fantasy league, or do you not have it?
I don't have it open. I can get it very quickly. In the meantime, you can proceed.
I mean, you also get added to the latest group chat in Serie A history. We actually had a new patron last week, which we shouted out already, but he has been added to the group chat. In case you guys were wondering, has he been added to the group chat yet? He has absolutely been added to the group chat, and I believe you have the update here.
Joey D, of course, is still in first place now. He's over 100 points clear,
Madonna.
And his name is Rattilla the Guendouzi. Rattia the Guendouzi.
I'm still a real beginner in Duolingo at the moment, so I'm not quite sure what Rattia means, but I hope some of you laughed. Sorry, Joey D.
we didn't get it, bro.
Not this time.
I guess because he's a rat, no, in his eyes.
Rattia. Can we jump into the rundown? You think we can get started?
Yes, I just want to make sure that we have shouted out the latest patron, just in case. I will give him a shout out again, Matt BC. Thank you very much for the support and welcome to the group chat, of course. Your contribution has been great so far, and we are happy to have you, of course.
Yes, Matt BC, nice to meet you. This is Matt AD. So, for the rundown, just to give you guys a full breakdown of what took place, Napoli have gone top of the table after yet another standout performance, but by who other than Scott McTominay, who grabbed the brace as they beat Torino 2-0. This jump happened after Inter lost at home to Roma, which is their third defeat in a row in all competitions. That is actually the first time that has happened since 2017, so the first time that it's happened in Simone Inzaghi's era. After being knocked out of the Coppa Italia against Milan, they now dropped to second after another important Sule goal for Roma, with the Giallorossi now undefeated in 18 and really fighting and going for that fourth spot that we deemed impossible. Juve have gotten back their fourth spot after a win against Monza despite a very costly Yildiz red card, taking it from the hands of Bologna, who drew 0-0 at Udinese. Despite this game was actually quite exciting, despite the 0-0 result. Both teams hit the crossbar. I desperately needed an Orsolini goal, and he did miss a great chance in the 88th minute. Lazio fought back to draw against Parma thanks to a Pedro doppietta. A win would have sent them level on points with Juve in fourth place. This was a great point for Parma, despite blowing their lead, as they are now 7 points from the drop. Fiorentina won the Tuscan Derby 2-1, keeping the pressure on for some form of European football, whilst Empoli remain 19th, level on points with Venezia, who are also in real trouble now as they lost 2-0 at home to Milan, who absolutely dominated the match. They did have a small scare at some point, but a comfortable 2-0 victory, a very early goal and a very late goal. Cagliari took a huge step towards survival after winning a 6-pointer against Verona 2-0 away from home, and jumping them into 14th place thanks to Deola and Pavoletti. These sides are now 7 and 8 points above Venezia with just 4 matches to go. Are they safe, or are they still in danger? Como got their 4th straight win in Serie A, beating Genoa 1-0. This has officially secured their safety, a proud moment for Fabregas and his men despite the injury of Diao. Genoa obviously not quite safe, but they are in the green. They're even safer than Cagliari and
39
Verona.
points, it's unlikely that they'll go down.
Unless you're Empoli that one season, huh?
Yes, that one season where they had Traore, Caputo, Di Lorenzo. They had a really good team. Krunic, Benacer. I think they were all there. Yeah. That was a crazy team, come to think of it.
It was. Well, probably one of the best teams. I think points-wise and statistically, they were the best team in Serie A history to ever get relegated. We said we'd start with Napoli. That is your game, brother.
Yes.
So take it away.
So yes, Napoli beat Torino 2-0 in the Maradona Stadium, of course, thanks to 2 goals by Scott McTominay. One came in the 7th minute and the other one coming in the 41st minute. The most interesting thing about this victory is not only that Napoli, despite the pressure that's been piled on them with Inter losing, they managed to open the scoring early in the 7th minute. And they had an interesting look about them, the way they operated. We'll get into it in more detail very soon. And a very, very positive stat for them is that Torino had 0 shots on target all game. And Meret didn't need to make a single save. Their biggest chance, Torino, came where Adams was played a looping ball over the top and he failed to hit the target. He skied it. Other than that, to be honest, Torino really didn't threaten. And Billing actually hit the crossbar in the second half and they could have made it 3-0 over there. Now, Napoli, what's interesting to notice as well is that they have an injury crisis right now happening low-key. It's very under the radar. But Neres is out, Juan Jesus is out, Raspadori, Anguissa, Buongiorno. These guys are all out or struggling, you know. So Conte had to come up with a solution to get them over the line against a Torino side that has proven to be quite a tough opponent, despite not having anything to play for, you know. And one of their strengths, Torino, is how structurally sound they are and how difficult to penetrate and how difficult to open up they can be. Not to mention with the arrival of Elmas, they've also been quite successful in the offensive department as well. So, with a depleted squad, Conte improvised brilliantly. He decided to play Spinazzola as a wide, deep-lying playmaker. Regista laterale, as they call it in Italian. While Lukaku acted as a classic pivot up top, as he usually does, and McTominay played as a shadow striker, constantly attacking the space between the midfield and the defence. This was a fake 4-3-3 setup. As on paper it looked like a 4-3-3, but in reality Spinazzola stayed deep. He didn't attack like a traditional winger. Anguissa, Politano and Di Lorenzo created overloads on the right, and 45% of Napoli's attacks came from that right side. So they did find a lot of success from it, including both goals. I liked the way they looked, bro. I like the way Lukaku pulled the defenders out of position and the way McTominay attacked. I like how they destabilized Torino's backline. I thought it was a very clean game by Napoli.
I thought it was very clean. I think we saw what we typically see from Napoli defensively in particular. They are the side that have conceded the least goals in Serie A this season with this Conte system. A team that have shown us that from day one. Now take that with a pinch of salt, because in the first game they lost 3-0 to Hellas Verona, but after that they have consistently been the team that conceded the least amount of goals this season. Where they struggled on the flip side is actually getting goals. When Lukaku and McTominay were in scoring, or when back then Guevara wasn't scoring, maybe Anguissa would get one here and there, maybe Politano would get one, maybe Raspadori when coming in, but otherwise they're really struggling to get goals. So this turn of form for McTominay, goal scoring form rather, has been very, very welcome for them. To be able to get those goals playing perfectly in a Conte system where Lukaku creates space for the attacking midfielder, McTominay has fitted in like a glove, and he showcased that particularly in the past 5 games. In this game in particular, it was the 6th time McTominay scored the opening goal of the match. So when it's a stalemate, McTominay gets that first goal, which is always the hardest goal to score. And unlike Inter, they have someone who's turned it up when the stakes have gotten bigger. Inter, on the other hand, unfortunately, due to multiple reasons, they haven't really had that kind of leader to pull them out of the rut that they're in.
Yes, and mainly as we will talk about Inter, of course. But of course, let's keep in mind Napoli, of course, play once a week. They find it a lot easier to manage their energy, and this is the most important thing. Conte has changed systems so many times this season, and he's adapted to the players he has available in front of him. Same can't really truly be said about Inzaghi.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think this has been the season that has exposed Inzaghi. Inzaghi is a quality manager because he has one system that blows everyone out of the water typically. But now after 3 years at Inter, it started to get a little bit figured out, and perhaps the players that he has are obviously not perhaps, they're on the older side, so they're finding it hard to keep that firepower and momentum up and running, and they're finding their worst form of the season at the most vital part of the season. Conte this year has shown us. Now Conte, in my opinion, is domestically one of the greatest managers in history. You look at him going to the Prem and winning it with Chelsea. You look at what he did with Juve. You look at what he did with Inter. Now potentially what he's doing at Napoli, which would be his greatest success.
His magnum opus.
His magnum opus. After Napoli finished 10th last season, he might actually win a Scudetto with them. But the thing that impressed me the most is he went in, he tried a 3-4-3, didn't work. Tried the 3-4-2-1, didn't work. Went for a 4-3-3. And has changed it around to a 3-5-2 when needed. I think I saw a statistic that showed he tried 5 or 6 different formations this season. I mean, he hasn't Zaghi tried, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? It's clear to me that Conte is the best manager in the league.
No, that's a very good point, and there's a reason, right? De Laurentiis pushed so hard for him after that humiliating Scudetto defense where they finished in 10th. He is Mr. Scudetto, Conte, and he has proven that with every capable team he's been at.
Let's not forget he'll be
Spurs
the first
catching strays.
Yeah. Let's not forget he will be the first manager in Serie A history, should he win the league title with Napoli, to win the league with three different teams.
And then
he'll join Milan and do it with 4.
That's what I was going to say. That could totally happen.
Do it.
Yes.
Do it.
And the perfect the player who embodies Conte's philosophy and way of playing in general, like and demeanor and everything about him embodies Conte, is McTominay, man. Because McTominay, this game, for example, man, he ran 12.6 kilometers, right? The most in the match by far. He was the hungriest by far. He won duels, he pressed, he attacked the box, he defended. He worked hard, he was efficient. He worked hard, but he worked smart as well. He ran when he had to. And that's an important part of Conte's system. It's run, but know when to run. Don't just run like an idiot, you know?
That's it.
And McTominay now is loving life. At the end of the game, an interviewer went up to him and asked him like what his favorite nickname is from all the nicknames that the Neapolitans have given him. And his favorite one is McFrateme, which means my brother. They also call him McTerminator. What else was there? MacGyver.
Yo.
I have some suggestions as well for him.
Oh god, okay. Let's see.
McTesticles. McTum Sahur. And McTomatoes, because he likes the tomatoes in Naples.
Amazing. He does.
He said that the food in Italy is amazing, man. The tomatoes actually taste good.
Bro, I've had tomatoes in Scotland and I don't bear or tomatoes in the UK in general. But firstly, everyone that leaves United is lit.
Everyone that has left United is good.
Crazy. Everyone that's leaving
it's
United
the opposite of Atalanta.
Exactly. But Scott McTominay, I think I said this in the last episode, if Napoli win the league, he's the MVP of the entire season. And I almost caught myself not saying that, because when I was on a bachelor's trip, this guy was shitting on Serie A, saying, what a farmers, look at this, what a farmers league, he was saying, Serie A, after 7 titles in a row for shitty, but whatever. I was saying, what a farmers league, we gave our scrap Scott McTominay, and he's the best player in Serie A. And I looked at him like, firstly, bullshit, secondly, no, he's not, but you know what?
Secondly, look at who you've bought. You've Zirkzee, Højlund, Ahmad Traore couldn't get a sniff at Atalanta.
And Dorgu.
Well. But
Onana,
they're all from Serie A, bro.
Besides the point, like, I think I might have been wrong, because I think McTominay, because you could be great in the first half of the season. You can be great midway through the season. You could have good moments, but for McTominay to be the perfect professional and then rise to the occasion in moments like this, where he says, we're on a title push, we're dreaming of it, and then he goes out and scores 5 goals in 3 games, spectacular. McTesticles, bro. As you
is
said,
the best one, I
he's McTesticles. Problems for Napoli, bro. I'm just seeing here the hostage signs. You said they have a low-key injury crisis. Buongiorno came back and he went off injured. Lobotka went off injured and Anguissa went off injured.
Yes.
No idea how
Their
lengthy
condition.
Buongiorno's season is over. They but his season was over in friggin' February. He's been really, really injured this season. Anguissa as well has been really consistently picking up knocks.
They have a good replacement in Gilmore.
But Lobotka as well. Lobotka, that is where Gilmore is likely to fit in, and then Billing will need to replace Anguissa. So
thankfully, they should have enough to get it over the line because their next game is against Lecce. Funny little derby for Conte. Then against Genoa. So Lecce is away from home. Genoa's at home. Parma is away from home. And then Cagliari is at home at the end of the season. Regardless of their injuries, and I know it sucks, obviously, they can't exactly play the way they want to play, but Conte has shown that he is capable of adapting his players and his system. And these are teams who are inferior to Napoli, all of them. And it's not even a contest, I mean, they will be hungry for survival, particularly Lecce and Parma, who might actually have, in even Cagliari, they might have actually achieved salvation by then, which I assume Napoli will be praying to God for.
Yeah.
But definitely an easier run than Inter, but their squad is looking thin.
And fuck me, what Parma have been doing to the top teams. Obviously, we remember what they did to Milan and Juve earlier in the season, but even more recently. They have a good record. They beat Juve exactly last week.
They held Inter.
They held Inter and they were ahead 2-0 to Lazio, where they got 2 goals super early in the game, and then a late Pedro masterclass is what salvaged Lazio a point.
Exactly, yes. What will help Napoli sleep at night is their defensive performance against Torino, as I alluded to. Before we move on, I'll just smack a few stats over here just to tell you how impressive that was. Torino managed 4 shots all game, none of them were on target. And Torino only entered Napoli's box 6 times this game. And Torino are a better opponent in theory than the teams they have yet to play.
Yeah. Let's jump to the team that allowed Napoli to take first spot. Inter 0, Roma 1 in what was the game of the week. 2 Serie A titans going head to head. The Nerazzurri had a devastating week, losing at Bologna to be caught at the top of the table by Napoli, then crashing out of the Coppa Italia semi-final with a 3-0 defeat to Milan on Wednesday. Bastoni and Mkhitaryan sat out bans while Thuram was on the treatment table. Dybala, Abdul Hamid and Nelson missed out for the Giallorossi, who were on a 17-match unbeaten run going into this game, but surprised with Eldor Shomorodov and Artem Dovbyk starting up front together. The only goal of the match came in the 22nd minute through, again Soler. Pellegrini's shot was deflected into Soler's path, who finished off with an angled drive. It was awful defending from Inter as they simply watched him tap it in. The ball changed direction 3 times and Inter's defenders simply didn't adapt.
A whole lot of this.
Just watching. Ball watching. Roma had an opportunity to double their lead, but Augusto did incredibly well to block a certain Shomorodov goal. That was excellent defending by a defender that's really growing into that left centre-back role. Inter dominated possession in the second half, but there were chances for both sides. Dumfries rose well at the back post at a point and he forced Villar into a save, something Inter have really missed in his absence. Barella also fired wide from just 7 yards out after a Lautaro layoff. That was a huge miss. And Dovbyk missed a great chance as well, but Acerbi got this crucial touch to deny the Ukrainian. And then at the end, this is where the big news was. Of course, it was going to happen. There were massive penalty appeals in the final moments of the match as Indica seemed to grapple Bissek to the ground, but Fabri waved play on.
And has been suspended. That's a penalty, man.
It is, eh?
It would have been a soft penalty, but that's a penalty. Because if that happens outside the box, you whistle, right? You can't. It's as simple as, when you get into the technicality of it, it's as simple as, can you bear hug a player, an opponent in the box, and
No.
and stop them from running forward. No, you can't. It's a penalty.
It is, eh?
It is.
It is.
It
I
is.
thought so. When I saw it, I
Yeah.
thought it was a penalty. Me being a Milan fan, then I'm like, no, he was already going down before any initial contact. The contact wasn't significant. He had 2 arms on him, and he had 2 arms wrapped around him.
What I find funny, alright, Fabri's been suspended, but what about the VAR officials? Well, maybe they were suspended to be honest. No, but I believe it was Fabri who was suspended. I keep saying offended. Yes, it was Fabri. So I just wonder, shouldn't the VAR room be accountable? Because
Yes.
isn't their job to literally
Catch what the referee
Exactly.
isn't catching.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's bizarre.
I agree with you there. We won't spend too much time talking about
No.
it because it literally made
Because it's boring, bro.
Exactly. Fucking yawn, referees and VAR. But in this game, I feel like Roma, obviously, it's good to talk about form coming into this game, where, okay, Inter went through to the semi-finals after a 2-2 draw to Bayern Munich. Since then, so Inter hadn't won in 3 games going into this match as well, because they drew to Bayern Munich. They lost to Bologna with a last-minute goal, fantastic goal by Orsolini, and that was another significant moment where they dropped points to Bologna. They were shot on confidence. They entered the Coppa Italia semi-final saying at least we can still win the tripletta. We're still level on points with Napoli. You can still win the tripletta. They get humiliated by Milan 3-0. So they went into this game with a lack of confidence. Roma, on the other hand, 17-match unbeaten run. They get that early goal through Soler. They went not man for man, but formationally, they really mirrored them. They also went for the 3-5-2. They were really tight defensively, and you could see that they were set up for the counter-attack. And boy, oh boy, were they hitting Inter on that counter-attack. I think game plan-wise, perfectly executed by Roma.
Yeah. I mean, in the second half, they surrendered possession. All the attacking momentum was in Inter's favour, yet Roma seemed to get closer to scoring in the second half than Inter. Yeah, Inter, I think the conversation will naturally flow towards Inter unless there's anything else you would like to address on Roma's behalf.
Let's start with Inter, because I have some points to make on Roma later on, because they're really on a push for a top 4 now.
They have the momentum. And now these games are direct 6-pointers against their rivals, man. So they're really cutting the gap. And it's not up to their opponents to drop points, because they will drop their points for
exactly,
them.
and that's what they have been doing. But let's start with Inter, so we stay on the...
Inter, man, it's like where do you even start, man? The rotation isn't quite good enough, in my opinion. There are players who simply haven't been utilized as much, and this is a problem that dates back to last season, where Inter were operating quite comfortably in the league, and they didn't give certain players a run out to get used to playing for this club. The likes of Aslani, for example, the likes of Bissek, right? So we've got many players here who aren't confident in the starting 11 already. Not to mention the fact that I feel like there's been no adaptation from Inzaghi. Like, how do you look at this group of tired players who are competing on all fronts, these players who are playing 90 minutes twice a week at a high intensity moment of the season, and you're trying to run them to the ground, to play quick transitional play and to press hard off the ball? Obviously, no wonder Inter have been dropping off in the second half for the past, I don't know how many weeks. They're not up to, they can't do it. They're too tired, and now they're psychologically fucked as well.
He's trying, listen to this analogy, bro, but he's trying to continue fucking after he came twice. That's what he's doing. He's trying to you know what I mean? You know, you do that, you try to keep going, like, but you're finished.
Yeah. Just imagining Mkhitaryan, like, exhausted.
That camel, bro.
The camel. There we go. We were doing so well. This was such a good episode that we fucked.
Why is it so easy to imitate? That camel.
That camel's hilarious. We'll repost it. It's too good.
I'm crying.
It's too good.
No, but it's absolutely that, man.
Yeah.
You know what made me laugh? Inzaghi's comments after he lost 3-0 to Milan. He's like, that's it. see what happens when you rotate. No more rotation.
Is that the lesson you learned?
What rotation? And like, as that's the lesson that you learned. You're not going to rest your players anymore. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But I think it's what we said earlier about, I think this is a whole, if you look top down and you look all round, you look at obviously the decisions that Inter made in the summer transfer window that were not perfect.
And in the winter one as well.
And in the winter one, they weren't perfect.
Because Inter, sorry to disrupt you, but just to add on to your point, they wait for opportunities in the market.
Yes.
They pounce on opportunities.
Because they've had to.
So the profiles aren't exactly hand-picked to perfection. It's more like, he's become available, he kind of fits, and the summer market was a little bit arrogant.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't stop giggling about that.
The cam thing.
But anyway.
You can't just buy Zalewski when your competition are bringing in good quality players. You can't. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's stupid.
No, they clearly, I think in January, they would have noticed that they needed reinforcements.
Yeah.
Inter have been a team that over the past few seasons, they've been blessed with not having many injuries. We've always complained, why is Barella never injured? This season, they've had injury problems with Thuram. They've had injury problems with DiMarco. They've had injury problems with their back line. They've had injury problems with Çalhanoğlu as well. It's getting bad, and it all looks back at the summer decisions, the January decisions, the fact that Simone Inzaghi doesn't really have a plan B, and it has all accumulated to this moment where they're competing on all fronts and they simply can't keep up. They continue trying to fuck when they're all out of juice. It's as simple as that, literally. Yeah. Now, thankfully for them, they have they made a lot of money from progressing to the semi-finals of the Champions League. They make a lot of money because they're essentially confirmed for Champions League next year. They're going to make a lot of money from being in the FIFA Club World Cup. The Club World Cup, or the FIFA Club, the Club World Cup. So they are going to have money to spend next season. Now, the thing is, they could have done it more intelligently because they knew essentially that this money was coming in, that they're going to be getting these injections of cash. And one thing that Inter didn't do is make small changes from season to season to shake things up and to freshen things up, essentially. What they're going to end up doing now, my fear for Inter, is that they think they're going to spend all this money to better their starting 11, just like what Milan thought they were doing. They're going to end up changing everything, and there's going to need to be a transitionary period where these players get used to the very unique system of Simone Inzaghi that isn't a simple plug-and-play system. It takes a lot of getting used to. So they are going to be making changes that are going to bring in young quality players, perhaps, but is it going to be sustainable in the sense that is it going to help them get better results next season?
So I think the most important thing for Inter to do is to tie down the players that are pivotal for their system. Çalhanoğlu cannot go anywhere because he is the heart and soul of that team. Barella cannot go anywhere. Lautaro cannot go anywhere. Bastoni can't go anywhere. If
you haven't mentioned
Thuram as well, ideally they keep. I mean, let's remember that he's quite fresh to the league as well. He's only going to get better, in theory. So if they just replace the players who are kind of aging or who aren't quite, who aren't doing well, like the likes of Correa and Taremi, for example, I think they can manage to build something while maintaining that core. I think they need quite a few transfers, personally, to really have an ideal squad when you look at it. When you look at, for example, Bissek, many Inter fans right now want him out, right? Because obviously it's reaction. He's made quite a few mistakes. I think that now is the time he started playing. If an opportunity comes, sure, sell him because you acquired him for a very low fee. But I don't think he should be forced out per se. I think the priority right now would be to find a striker, a capable striker who's younger than Arnautovic and better than Correa and Taremi, right? Because Correa and Taremi together don't really give Inter anything, to be honest with you. They just waste space on the bench, to be honest with you. Not to be harsh, but it's true statistically as well. They haven't done much this season at all. Zielinski hopefully grows into it next season for them. And I think what they need to do is they need to look at that midfield. I know they have a young player who's already been purchased for next year in that register role, but they really need to think of a like-for-like candidate for Çalhanoğlu, man. They need to
replace Aslani. They need to replace Aslani.
Exactly. Aslani, you can sell him for a profit. You know,
you could make some money.
He's not a bad player. It's just not the system for him.
Like it's interesting. I thought off the ball he was quite good against Milan. And then I read an article from an Inter page saying that he was clearly the worst player on the pitch. Because if he doesn't fit the system, that's something that Inter fans would notice more than me in that sense. I just saw him block some crucial shots and make some good tackles and look like the tough guy, and thought he had a good performance.
And this is gonna sound really fucking immature.
Okay.
But they need an injection of speed, man, these guys.
No, they do.
You can't play this type of football because they're not dangerous on the counter at the moment, Inter, which means that the opponent, can push Inter into their box and press Inter without the fear of someone breaking in behind. If you look at Milan, for example, the Milan game in the Coppa Italia, they broke free in the first half through Di Marco and Darmian, but they got tired so quickly, because they don't have like Dumfries and Thuram are the only two players capable of really stretching the opponent and taking the ball to the byline. I think they need to prioritize some pace on the wings and up front, to be honest.
Yeah, potentially. That would be a good start. I have some questions for you. Question number 1. Is winning the Champions League the only thing that could save Inter's season?
I mean, they can win the league as well, but yes, I think that, to be honest, the only competition that is left that's in their hands is the Champions League. So yes, I think if they win the Champions League, bro, I remember a similar situation when we were we're only kids, man, back then. Milan won the Champions League after Inter had won the Coppa Italia, and Ambrosini had put up a sign. Mettila Coppa Italia.
Mettila nel culo.
Shove that Coppa Italia up your ass was the translation. Because in reality, if they win the Champions League, they will have all the bragging rights. It's a successful fucking season, and how, So yeah, that answers the
okay. And do you think Inter can still win the league?
Yes,
they have Barca away, Verona home, Barca home, Torino away, Lazio home, Como away. A much tougher run-in.
It's a tough run-in, but of course, we've seen that Napoli aren't exactly smooth sailing when it comes to personnel, when it comes to injuries. They have had their misfortune as well, and they're playing against teams who tend to low block, man. And the problem that Napoli have is that they often struggle to get those goals. McTominay was deployed really well in the last game, and it was refreshing to see those run-ins from midfield and how sharp he was and how much more aware he was than his opponents. But other than that, usually they tend to, when the opponent sits deep, they tend to struggle to open them up.
So you don't think that Inter should toss all their eggs in the Champions League basket? That's because what's going to happen here is
bro, Inzaghi's tossed all his eggs in all his baskets.
You know what insanity is, right? Where I'm not gonna say it, but
that quote, it's not the definition of insanity.
It's not the definition of insanity, but it's a saying for a reason, right? Because Simone Inzaghi wanted to compete on all fronts. He didn't manage, so now he crashed out of the Coppa, and the league is no longer in his hands. He's going to keep fighting for the league while trying to fight for the Champions League and make the same mistake, run his players to the ground, send them at home to Barcelona exhausted. You know what I mean? You think that Inzaghi could potentially look at where he's at right now and go, okay, maybe it's time to commit now. Send the fucking youths out, in one of the competitions.
I think it all depends on how it goes tomorrow. I think tomorrow they're going to give their absolute all in that Barca game. If they get somewhat of a positive result, I think the rotation I think regardless of what happens tomorrow, to be honest, bro, unless they get absolutely smashed, if they get trashed tomorrow, then expect a full team against Verona, and obviously. But I expect Inter to go all out and try to get past Barca here, and I do expect rotation against Verona, because they would be foolish not to rotate against Verona, who have been on the decline, man.
Absolutely.
Verona have been pretty bad, one of the worst teams in Serie at the moment in the last month or two.
I agree. I completely
Sorry
agree.
to our friend on Twitter whose name currently escapes me. I will check.
Verona fan?
Yes, man. He loves them. He's really sweet.
And here you are, huh?
And here I am forgetting his name.
Making him feel like shit and forgetting his name.
But at least he's getting a shout out.
One hell of a shout out.
Ben! Come on, Verona.
Last question. If Inter go trophyless this season,
Yeah.
Simone Inzaghi, some kind of accountability will need to be there. What sort of accountability is that? From a scale of a slap on the wrist to a sacking. Where are you on that? If they go zero titoli,
I don't view it as a complete disaster. Because,
Crazy.
Because
Crazy. It's a fuck up.
You think so?
Yeah, because Inter have significantly, and we had this discussion a little bit before, they've significantly underachieved in the past 4 years. Inter have been dominant. Inter won 2 Coppas, which aren't nothing. They're 2 Coppas, of course, they're nothing. Milan are in the final.
And one Scudetto.
And one Scudetto, but the thing is, they were favourites every single season.
They were favourites
and now,
for 4 seasons in a row.
Now here comes another year where Inter are involved in all competitions and they can get away with zero titoli.
So what was the Inter management's plan with Inzaghi? Their plan, I think, more than anything else, and their priority rather more than anything else, is to fix this financial situation that they're in, right? In fact, the way they move in the market, they're not out here splashing the big bucks to get the players they want. Again, they're poaching players on freeze. That's why they got Marotta, right? They're trying to recover their finances and to be sustainable. The fact that for 4 years they were favourites and they've competed on 3 fronts pretty much every single season, and gotten far in many competitions and expanded their global presence in the international football world, is probably a positive, because I'm sure that financially they've gone a long way from from the situation that Zhang left them in. So I think
that's not entirely Inzaghi's responsibility.
No,
Inzaghi's tasked with putting these men on the pitch, and they were favourites.
Yes, but he has to work with what he's given. I'm not saying that Inter have a shit team. I'm not saying that at all. But Inzaghi is a man who has a system, right? And fucking he clearly doesn't.
But is it good enough?
I don't know if it's good enough.
I'm as skeptical as you about this question.
If I'm an Inter fan, I'm upset, I think.
Because it's underachieving.
Yeah. But the thing is, he gets them far, and then there are limitations. And to be fair, he's also responsible because, as we said, he needs to come up with solutions for his team, right? If he's seeing them fucking, they can't keep up on 3 fronts, and the players in front of him are exhausted.
I think we can agree on one thing. He shouldn't be sacked. I think it's a lesson that he can get them there. He just needs that little bit extra.
I think actually it's very exciting for Inter to have him as their manager, because they have looked so good at times, and even the fact that people were talking about this treble and it was being spoken about on every major media platform. It's not like something that was only being discussed in Italy,
Yeah.
And they have impressed in the Champions League as well. I just think that they need to figure out maybe a plan B together and maybe give him the right players needed to actually play a full season competing on every front.
That should be his absolute priority in the summer. Let's jump to Roma a little bit because we're going over. Yet another great showing from particularly 2 players, Svilar and Sule. Svilar continues to cement himself as the standout goalkeeper of the season alongside, as we've said before, Vanya, who's on a little bit of a dip at the moment. Sule, on the other hand, there's a question about Sule. With Sule's recent success, would Roma be kicking themselves for not cashing in on Dybala? I know it's a bit of a crazy question, but
that's a good question. I think they might be kicking themselves, bro, because they've lost him for the rest of the season anyway. They went on this crazy run and they managed to do it without him. And the fact that he's not even guaranteed to be there next year because they might not actually afford him unless they finish in a Champions League spot. I don't know. So maybe they're kicking themselves, yeah.
But you know what he's good for? Dybala being on the bench, wearing those vintage tracksuits, looking like a Hollywood actor.
And everyone goes, ha!
Oh my god! Like Soule scores a goal, films Dybala.
Exactly. Films him like this. Mewing, you know? Looks maxing on the side, as the kids say.
Literally, he's like best bros with Timothy Chalamet nowadays.
Yes. Is he?
They had some kind of interaction. Not best friends though. I have some points. Roma are in the running to get fourth, and here is why. They've done well in their tougher streak to slow down their top 4 rivals in direct encounters, as you've mentioned earlier as well. They're in 6th, 2 points behind 4th placed Juve and 1 behind Bologna. Juve and Bologna play each other next. Then Juve have Lazio. So it's almost Juve's, both without Yildiz. So Juve have to play Bologna and Lazio without Yildiz. Juve are the team in 4th place. So it really is essentially in Juve's hands what's going to happen to Roma. Bologna have Juve, Milan, Fiorentina. Roma have tough fixtures as well. They do have tough fixtures. They have Fiorentina, Atalanta, Milan, Torino. They're facing a Milan that are going to be burnt out and not prioritizing the league though. They're going to face an Atalanta that I'm not going to say they're safe in 3rd place, but they're potentially safe in 3rd place. They're
low-key chilling, Atalanta.
Low-key chilling. Fiorentina will be a tough one. They shouldn't be. Fiorentina is a tough one. They have some tough games, but
that's Fiorentina game's a final.
Yeah. We all know the streak Roma are on though. So they enter each and every one of these games as win or draw favorites. You won't put a win or a draw on the other team.
Yeah.
Even though whatever.
Odds would be horrific, but yes. For sure, bro. I think that Roma, when it comes to momentum, have a good thing going.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if I favor them for that 4th spot. I still think Bologna might do it, man.
I don't know. I really don't know. That's a beautiful thing about this league, right?
Yeah.
Well,
whatever
same
happens,
with Prem is super close for the top 4th spot as well, to be completely fair.
Of course. It's just their top and their bottom that suck.
Literally.
Yeah.
They have their champions and they have their 3 relegated teams. Exactly. Fantastic. Everyone else takes some time off.
And everyone's going, oh my god!
I think that's enough. Obviously, I commend once again week on week Ranieri for what he's done at Roma. It's an impossible task. I think this is this guy has won the Premier League with Leicester.
Leicester.
With Leicester. He got Cagliari promoted and said the last thing I want to do in my career is promote Cagliari. They were ready with the farewell and everything. Then he's like, I'm fucking leaving. He's like, my final goal is to save Cagliari from relegation. He did that in front of our very eyes, brother.
Yes,
and then the Unipol Domus against Atalanta.
Wicked, huh?
And now he came out of retirement, and if he gets Roma Champions League, bro, he has to go down, bro, as one of the greatest managers for these miracles, bro. He really is a miracle worker. He obviously goes down in history for the movie of Leicester City because it's the greatest sporting achievement in history, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he's a great guy as well. So
you can't root against
him. He's a legend.
You're in Champions League, man.
Dilly ding, dilly dong. You know what I hate? That Milan and Bologna play twice.
Yeah, in quick succession.
In quick succession. And one of them is a final.
But it's interesting. It's interesting, bro.
It's interesting, but I hate it.
It sucks more for Bologna than it does Milan.
Why?
For me, send Milan Futuro to that first game.
The league game?
Yeah. Send Milan Futuro.
And play something you've never played before to confuse them.
Play a fucking... I don't know, what do Milan not
4-2-2-2.
play? 4-2-2-2. Camarda and Tammy Abraham up front together.
Why would you risk Tammy?
Who else, man? I don't know.
Camarda and Jimenez.
Jimenez. He's. I'm gonna glaze Jimenez. You're saying Santi?
Yeah.
That's gonna happen.
That's another thing.
Yeah. Anyway, next game, bro, because we're 50 minutes in.
No problem. Let's go. We have Juve Monza. This is quite a straightforward game to cover because it's a game of two halves. Very costly, of course, because of Yildiz's violent conduct on Bianco. He elbowed him. God knows what he said to him, huh? To get an elbow in the face from Yildiz.
No, we ask.
I have a few theories if you want.
Okay. Go for it, lad.
So first of all, I think Yildiz has been watching too much Koksal Baba content.
What, bro?
You know that Turkish guy, really angry, the small one?
That's his name, bro. How do you expect me to know his name?
Koksal Baba.
That's insane. The really short, angry guy with the huge nose.
I think he told him something along the lines of Can Yaman is better looking than you.
Yo.
Or Salt Bay shouldn't have been on the pitch at the World Cup final. Or you couldn't even take control of Malta in 1565. Bang in the face. Yes. So Nico Gonzalez opened the scoring in the 11th minute with a wonderful strike cutting inside from the right and just shooting it low and hard into the bottom left corner. And then Colomwani also scored after trying an audacious bicycle kick and missing a very good opportunity, which he should have definitely done better in. He even failed to hit the target. It was it was a beautiful opportunity for a striker, and he didn't hit the target. But in the 33rd minute, he managed to score. He had a repeat of that miss, to be honest, of the opportunity, sorry. Nico Gonzalez hadn't scored since the previous game against Monza in December. And that was his only other goal this season in Serie A. So he scored 2 goals, both of them against Monza. While Colomwani hadn't scored in 8 games. So he was on also...
because Tudor came in. He's like, don't care.
He's like, I love Vlahovic, man.
Literally, this guy is on a scoring streak after you just like got him on a dry loan. Forget him. Yeah.
Yildiz lost his cool just before halftime, and then Monza controlled 83% of second half possession. Juve stayed compact and limited them to weak chances. And that's pretty much it. It was a 3-4-2-1. I mean, going into it for Juve, quick transitions and all that. The forward line was very smart with their movement, taking advantage of defensive gaps. They actually played pretty well, with Locatelli anchoring the midfield defensively, while Vega and Kalulu absorbed pressure at the back. But I think this would be a bittersweet victory for Juve, who lose their best player. Yeah,
absolutely.
In a stupid way.
In a stupid way, that's the thing, and this is the thing with young players, right? Because I'm the first one to glaze Yildiz. I think Yildiz can be a future Ballon d'Or winner. He has 100 million written all over him as a price tag. I can't stress how good I think this guy is. I think as technically gifted, he's up there with some of the best in the world at the moment. I rate him so highly, especially for the tender age of 19, 20. However old he is, and he has been, he's been rapidly improving as well from season to season. We remember him at 18 years old, 17 years old, and he has improved. It's not just like he's plateaued and he'll forever be this young wonder kid. He's maturing, and he's really showing us what he can do on the biggest stage.
He makes children fall in love with the game. And he's 19, by the way.
Exactly. How old is he? So
19,
I think he's 19. Fucking crazy that he's 19 years old.
Talk about Yamal, bro.
He's
before the age of 18, he might win the World Cup and the Champions League.
Bro, you know, Yamal has the most assists in Europe in the top 5 leagues.
You know, he wears 2 pairs of sunglasses at the same time
while meeting the king,
while having blonde hair.
he's cool, Yamal.
He's so young. You can tell. It's crazy. It's crazy, insane.
You see him fighting with his girlfriend, like and all that. But Yildiz, back to Yildiz, that's unfortunately what you get sometimes with young players. Now, he has been a mature player. I haven't seen him lose his cool up until this moment, at least me. But that's what you get. And it's violent conduct, which means he's going to miss the Bologna game and the Lazio game, which are the 2 most important games. They're the 2 games where Juve have to some way not lose or not drop points, because it's fucking tight for that 4th spot. And if they draw to Bologna, it's not quite good enough, because Roma are there and Lazio are there. And if they drop points to Lazio, it's not enough because Bologna are there and Roma are there. So they can't just focus on themselves when there's all that going on around them. And now they lose Yildiz, which probably means that either in that position, either Conceição, but judging from how he likes to play, Tudor, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Cope Miners.
Or he pops Colomwani there as well.
Or he pops Colomwani and starts Vlahovic. He has options, but none of them are Kenan Yildiz.
That's it. You've lost a player who can make something out of nothing. Mm-hmm. You've lost the player who is the most confident in this team. Probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Their best player. Honestly, they're star man.
They're fantasista.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man. They really fucking ruined their victory there.
It's a very bittersweet victory
As it
for
stands,
them.
they've got a slim lead in fourth over Bologna,
A point, man.
who are just a point under them. And they, how they played, like rabid dogs. And then just 1 point below them, there's Roma, who are tied on points with Lazio. It's too close to be doing this stupid shit, especially when you're 2-0 up comfortably. You're gonna elbow Bianco. What the hell did Bianco say to you, man?
How silly.
Baba.
And speaking of disappointing, Bologna have gone to Udinese and drew 0-0. They've just broken back into fourth spot with that last minute Orsolini goal against Inter. They got to the Coppa Italia final. Of course, perhaps a bit gassed out after giving Empoli a round 2. But the visitors were still celebrating qualification for the Coppa Italia final, beating Empoli 5-1 on aggregate midweek, and needed a victory here not only to keep hold of that fourth place, but also close on Atalanta in third. Indoi, Pedrola, Home and Chazale were injured, but Skorupski returned and coach Vincenzo Italiano sat out a touchline ban. The Froilani had lost 5 on the bounce, with Bijol suspended, Tuvan, Touré, Zemura and Lucca on the treatment table. It was a stalemate, despite both teams hitting the woodwork. Udinese and Bologna played out a 0-0 draw, a result that dents Bologna's Champions League hopes and ends Udinese's 5-game losing streak. So Bologna slide down to 5th, with Juve leapfrogging them. They failed to reclaim the 4th spot, and now they do have a massive showdown against Juventus at the Dallara next weekend. If I had to ask you for a prediction for that game between Juve and Bologna.
I can see it in front of me. Give me a sec. Juve and so Bologna are home. My prediction is that Bologna beat them, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Italiano is going to be back on the touchline. I think they missed him this game because Italiano transmits so much energy to his players on the sideline. This is often something that kind of is not mentioned enough when the manager is serving a touchline ban, especially the type of manager that is Italiano, where he's constantly on the sideline shouting and throwing out orders and all that. And clapping and applauding his players and positively reinforcing them as well, because he's very good at that. I think that they missed him a lot this game, and that's one of the reasons maybe they didn't do more. But yes, I think that Bologna will beat Juventus. What's your take? Or a draw? A draw is very possible.
I think Bologna, in these big games, I tend to favour them because they're such a well-drilled team. The only thing that gives me a bit of doubt is they've lost Dan and Doi for the rest of the season. And it clearly impacted them in this game. Dominguez is good. He is good.
They've got confident and capable replacements.
They do. But
yes,
I felt he was the missing piece from this game.
But would you sacrifice Indoi to play Juve to not have Yildiz against you? Because I would.
Would you sacrifice Indoi?
So you're Bologna. You say you don't use Indoi. They don't use Yildiz. You have the upper hand.
You're probably right. Yeah. You're probably right. But Ndoi is pivotal for this team. I think Ndoi gives them a very direct player, a very quick player in transition. If you look all around, they're not exactly the quickest team. Not even Orsolini is rapid, but Ndoi gives them that direct on the counter. And we see them very, very often with Orsolini playing the ball to the left-hand side, finding Ndoi in space, and who typically charges through on goal. And that's how he's essentially quadrupled his numbers this season, Dan Ndoi. I think he's a big miss for them. I think Udinese did well in this game. A guy that particularly impressed me was Payero.
Dead ball specialist, huh?
Dead ball specialist as fuck. He almost scored from a free kick. He almost scored from a corner. He was very, very involved in this game. Good to mention as well that Keenan Davis hit the crossbar early on in this game, and then Orsolini, he hit the bar from a free kick, and then in the closing moments of the match had a great opportunity with a flying header at the far post, and he scuffed it.
He was awkwardly positioned, I think, but that's a big miss.
Yeah, it is a big miss. It was a tough day in the office for Orsolini. He seemed to be the only guy kind of creating and trying, as he tends to be when Bologna are struggling, but to no avail. This time round. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what Bologna can do to try regain that fourth spot. They have key fixtures coming up, as I said earlier. They have Juve, Milan, and Fiorentina coming up.
Big game.
This is an interesting one. I'll ask you this and we can move on because there's more exciting shit happening than a nil-nil draw. What was the question exactly? What would you prioritize in this case? Now, obviously, you give it all, right? You go for everything. You go for the Coppa Italia final. It's one game, and you try get top 4 as well. You do the both. You do both to the best of your abilities. But with that Milan game, with those 2 Milan games so closely next to each other, you have to prioritize one. There's no way you enter the second game or the first game on the same level. You have to enter one with an ideal and the second one with a tweak, unless you've got 2 class A. You've got a plan A and another plan A, essentially.
So both teams are going to rest players in that league game. I think Milan perhaps more aggressively, if they're smart about it. But Milan have nothing to actually play for in the league. While Bologna have actually, the president spoke out and said that he would much rather a Coppa Italia than another top 4 finish. He wants to bring a trophy to the city, which is fair enough.
It is fair.
I mean, it's been a while, right?
There's more money in getting top 4.
Yes, that is true. However, it's a trophy, bro, and Bologna aren't a team that have had much trophy success in recent years. So I think they would take that absolutely.
I think I tend to agree with you.
And it's one game. They win one game. They do it. The other one, it's not completely up to them. Just one thing about Italiano and Bologna. So it had been, before last season, it had been 55 years since Bologna finished in the top 5 before Motta came. Then when Motta came, they did well, whatever. They got Champions League, right, with Xerxes and Calafiori and all that. They sold everyone for 101 million, right? And they only spent 57 million and hired Vincenzo Italiano. Now they're 5th, 1 point away from 4th, with only 2 losses in 2025, and they've reached their first Coppa Italia final since 1974. So their sporting project is absolutely sensational.
They're well run. That's it. And I've said before, I think they're the new Atalanta in that sense. I think we might have the 8th sisters in Serie with Bologna coming in, and not to mention what Fiorentina are doing as well. What Bologna are showing growth from season to season. They've come such a long way since those unfortunate Mihailovic days. It's good to see. And they've I know Calafiori and Xerxes were the sexy marketable names, and even Motta that they lost. But as we both agreed, they kept Freuler, they kept Beukema, they kept Lukumi, they kept Orsolini, they kept Ferguson. They made the right signings around those guys.
Very smart, intelligent signings.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm so excited for that final, obviously, being a Milan fan, but also excited to see what Bologna can do and how they're going to close the season. Not much to say. We're just going to have to sit back and watch, brother.
Exactly. Lazio had an opportunity, of course, here, a massive opportunity after all the rivals had played. It was the last game of the Matchday on a Monday night, and they found themselves 2-0 down in the second half as Ondrejka for Parma scored immediately as the game started. So we're talking literally the 3rd minute he scored. And then he scored again in the 46th minute, just 1 minute into the second half, which just goes to show Lazio's concentration is a bloody disaster. And it was the same goal, the exact same goal, on the exact same side from Marosic's side. It was an overload. They made Valeri look like Nuno Tavares.
It's true.
Running down that flank. But yes, and to be honest with you, I think Lazio were lucky to actually only be 2-0 down, because Mandas had to make some amazing saves. And Dennis Mano,
boy, oh boy. He had a chance.
Dennis Boy, the second half of the season, absolutely. He had 2 chances. One where he went to curl it in his trademark finish, and he curled it centrally, and Mandas just caught it. And then at the end, he was clean through on goal. On the counter, the last breath of the game. And he failed at the target. Yeah.
Dennis Boy,
Absolutely.
unfortunately.
But speaking of Dennis Boy, then you have Pedro Pea, who is fucking what a player, what a guy, what a myth. Honestly, he is incredible. This guy, 37 years old. We're talking here. He came on in the second half. He looked pissed off to even be playing with the teammates that had looked so complacent earlier on. He came on fucking hungrier than the entire team combined, and he's 37 years old and he's won everything. You know,
he's the ideal guy to have on your bench.
Exactly.
And he's been that guy even last season. And then we always say every season, this is the end of Pedro now. Absolutely not, because he's one of those guys that his physical attributes were never what made him a great footballer. Think of the Saponara-esque kind of players, not to mention them in the same breath. But he's
Pedro in the same sentence as Saponara.
He's intelligent, he's experienced, he knows where to position himself. He's actually in many ways gotten better since his Barca days and Chelsea days. Of course, Barca was his peak, the way he'd get past players and curl at top bins. He was at times unstoppable. In that team with Busquets, Iniesta, Xavi, Messi, Villa at times as well.
So,
but he's aged brilliantly, and in fact, he is now the player who scored the most goals as a substitute in a single Serie A season for Lazio since 1994-1995 with 7, overtaking Tommaso Rocchi, who scored 6 in 2008-2009.
Which means he got a goal in the league through a start, because he has 8 goals in Serie A, and 1 assist. And he got all this, 8 goals and 1 assist, in only 119 minutes of football,
bro.
Which is crazy. That's just over a game.
Fucking
You know,
mental,
that's wild. Like, can you imagine if he were 10 years younger? You know, like
literally.
Honestly, I mean, we can't imagine because we've seen it.
Like exactly.
And he also has in the Europa League in 228 minutes 4 goals and 2 assists. So he's really one of the unsung heroes in this Lazio team. And I think when it comes to our end of the season episode where we do tops, flops, unsung heroes, I might take him into consideration here for sure, because he has earned them so many points and bailed them out of so many difficult situations.
And they've had many of them. He's had many an opportunity to bail them out, and he has. I mean, he's reliable. That's the kind of guy you want on your bench. What I'm concerned about when it comes to Lazio, and obviously Parma are on good form in that sense, and they've got everything to play for. They seem to have some momentum behind them. They're slaying the big dogs. It is concerning that Lazio would concede goals so early on. Like in the 3rd minute and the 46th minute. Yes, it's the time where you're almost most likely to concede a goal because you're not concentrated yet. But to think that it happened to them in the 3rd minute, they went into halftime. Baroni probably told them off for it, 100%. You guys don't concede in the fucking 3rd. Wake up! You have to start the game off. I don't want that to happen again. They go out and they concede in the 46th minute, and they just looked sluggish. Even when they were looking for a lead, I'm surprised. And of course, there was a Dennis man miss. I'm surprised. Parma could have scored 3. At points, the way Romagnoli was clearing the ball, or the way Romagnoli was pressing, leaving Gila alone, tracking back, sprinting back, trying to
Parma
stop.
were mixing them up, man.
Really,
they were
really mixing
defensively fragile, and Guendouzi and Rovella were really pushing up. I feel like they contribute a lot to the attack, but then as players, they're not really the types to actually be productive in front of goals. They're not going to get you goals or assists or play these defense opening.
At a point, it was a bit weak. They
Even Rovella is desperate for a goal, it seems. But one observation about Lazio and their defensive frailties is when you look at the teams, around Lazio in the league, most of them look different to how they looked at the start of the season. Okay. If it comes to the players or the system itself. Like Milan, for example, play 3 at the back now. Roma as well. They had 3 managers since their first game.
Yeah.
Lazio are one of the only teams over here that actually stayed exactly the same all season. And that's not good. And Baroni, maybe he's a young manager, you know, he hasn't had much experience at this level before, and he started off really well. the season, and he was playing offensive football, catching the opponent off guard, managing to rotate really well and balance multiple competitions at the same time. However, I think this was one of Baroni's downfalls this season, the fact that he didn't really adapt his side as the season went on. He just kept playing the same people in the same system, and they had the same idea as well, just attack everyone. Press, attack.
Funnily, much like Milan, I think Lazio are really nicely set up for a 3 at the back formation. I think Gila would absolutely flourish in that because it will give him
Romagnoli as well. It's a
to
strength.
go forward. Romagnoli can, go up for corners, but also be that vital last man over there. Pellegrini showed us he can whip in a bad boy, and we always knew that. But imagine Nuno Tavares as a left wing back when everyone else is fit.
Centre-back depth is the problem.
Exactly. Centre-back depth is the issue, which we have addressed before. Gigot is essentially all that they have.
And then you only have Prostgard on the bench.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think they're nicely set up with Dia and Castellanos, or at 3-4-2-1, because there's Zaccagni, and then perhaps they have to choose between Dia and Isaacson for that other wing role. But I think he needs to come up with some element of a plan B, because I think that's one of the reasons they struggle against Bodo Glimt as well. Now, Bodo Glimt Stadium, it's like you're playing on a snooker table. It's like you're playing against a team that's playing a different sport, and it's cold and this and that. But bro, people beat Bodo Glimt, you know what I mean? Because Bodo Glimt killed both Roman teams in the past few seasons. It's true. They're
good. They have a nice project. They're a good team.
Bizarre watching that game. It's true. But it's not good enough. Even in the second leg, they had the opportunity. It ended up going to penalties, and they lost on penalties. But this is, at the end of the day, this is what we knew was going to happen in Baroni's first season. This is a project that they're doing over here. They didn't sign players that were proven in Serie A. They didn't even sign a manager that was proven in Serie A. They signed a manager who's at the start of his career, essentially, who helped Verona survive relegation.
And Lecce previously.
And Lecce. That's why I was saying Verona. Lecce. They brought in Nuno Tavares from Arsenal, I believe, and no one knew if the guy could defend or if he's even a left back. They brought in Dia from Salernitana. They brought in Noslin and Chauna.
With Serie A experience, to be fair.
All with Serie A experience, bro. But Arjan Ibrahimovic, Delabashiru,
they buy from lower teams.
Exactly, and they always have, because even Provedel at the end of the day, he's from Spezia. But they clearly signed players and managers who didn't do it at the top. So they have to figure this out. They have to go. They have to get knocked out against Bodo Glimt. They have to get knocked out of the Coppa. They have to fight till the very end to get Europa League. And then next year, hopefully they grow and they learn together. Would it kill them to sign someone with a bit more Serie A experience in the team? Because you said these guys have Serie A experience, but they don't have Serie A experience.
Yeah, half a season. Like Noslin had half a season.
Exactly.
Chauna had 1 season with Salernitana.
There's growing pains for them.
Absolutely. And again, like the team is quite young. The manager at this level is relatively new. Not relatively new. He's new. So yes, the project is there. The foundation is there. And they just need to learn how to manage the season better as a whole, I guess.
Exactly.
Boulaye Dia was not exactly great this game. It's like,
again, bro.
When he's bad, when he doesn't play well, he looks really bad. It's weird because when he plays well, he looks great. So I don't get it. Like, he's one of those.
But it's also weird cases. It's also the position he's playing in now. Technically, Tati should be setting Dia up a little bit more. In that sense, because that is why they are placed in that way, with a secondary striker / attacking midfielder. Perhaps
Zaccagni's on a bit of a rut as well. Zaccagni, I think they're a bit low on confidence, man. These guys. When you look at Castellanos, he strikes me as the person who's confident no matter what. And then you have Isaacson, who's the most confident of the lot, and it really shows. But Zaccagni and Dia, what they try to do often doesn't come off, man. Lately, they're really, really struggling.
It's interesting to see where they're going to end up, Lazio, this season, because they do have tough games remaining. They're in one competition now, so at least they get to focus completely on the league. But I still think that they've improved from last year, especially when you look at the kind of people that they lost. We always say Immobile, Sergei, Luis Alberto, Sarri are for huge losses for them. So considering that they're fighting for Europa League, which is essentially what they were doing with those guys, despite that one season where they finished second, it's not a bad spot for Lazio to be in.
Yeah. Shout out to Kivu on the other end of the pitch. His selection of Ondrejka paid off brilliantly. He exploited Lazio's clear weakness in Marasic, attacking the side where they concede most of their goals. I think he set his team up really well. The pressing, everything, to be honest, even the fact where they sat back and sat deep and defended as a block, it wasn't bad at all. At the end, they panicked a bit and they got a bit opened up with the goals. And Pedro should never be scoring a header against Juve. No. Absolutely never.
No.
But I think overall, a noble display by Parma.
Absolutely. And they were by no means the better team at any point in this game, Parma. But that's what they do, right? They get themselves in front nonetheless. And I think if you had to tell them, look, you're going to get a point against Lazio, they'd take it. They'd be disappointed they didn't get the win at the end of it.
Yeah.
Conceding a header to Pedro at the end of the day.
Absolutely, man.
Fiorentina 2, Empoli 1. This is the Tuscan Derby. The Viola were preparing for the Conference League semi-final clash against Real Betis, which they played this week, but Keane was once again ruled out due to a personal matter after missing the midweek match at Cagliari, with Colpani injured and Dodo recovering from surgery for appendicitis. Empoli went out of the Coppa Italia on Thursday, losing the semi-final 5-1 on aggregate to Bologna. Cacacio was suspended, with Kwame, Male, Haas, Sazanov, Pellegrini and Zurkowski long-term absentees. Fiorentina got off to a strong start early on. In the 7th minute, Goodmanson slipped a clever ball through to Adli, who timed his run perfectly and slotted it home to make it 1-0. They kept the momentum going, and in the 26th minute, Adli turned provider, swinging in across from the right for Mandragora, who controlled it brilliantly and pulled off a stunning bicycle kick to double Fiorentina's lead. Empoli thought they pulled one back just before half-time, when Solbakken set up a goal, but VAR ruled it out as the ball had clearly gone out of play in the build-up. In the second half, Empoli came out fighting. Just before the hour mark, Gogliocice crossed from the right, Esposito dummied the ball smartly, and Fazzini smashed it in to make it 2-1. Fiorentina nearly killed the game later on when Goodmanson forced Vasquez into a brilliant one-handed save, but Empoli kept pushing till the very end. In stoppage time, Kovalenko unleashed a rocket towards goal, but De Gea pulled off a world-class save to preserve the 2-1 win. I think obviously highlight of the game was that Mandragora goal, right? First, actually I want to start off with that bit of play that Fiorentina had for the first goal.
For Adli's goal, wow.
Brilliant play where Mandragora was once again pivotal for them in the middle.
I really like Mandragora as a player. I think he's great. And Adli is the type of player who, again, like he stands out. He's unique, but he isn't exactly, I think, refined enough to actually play for a team like Milan, perhaps. He's not really a system player. He's kind of a free player, yeah. Like as a regista, as it comes, he sits deep. He plays these long passes. He
needs time on the ball.
Yes. And I think a team of this level and not playing maybe as a regular starter is perfect for him. To be honest, I really see that it suits him. I looked into it a little bit. Keane's situation, by the way. He had serious personal issues. Apparently, he's missed 2 Serie A games now.
Oh, fuck.
So, not quite sure what happened, but it's family reasons, yes. Personal family reasons. So I assume maybe someone has, fallen sick or something, yeah. Terrible.
I hope it's not.
Wish him well.
I hope it's nothing serious, obviously. Well,
it is.
Clearly it is, the poor guy. I hope to see him back on the pitch and carefree, I guess, soon. Mandragora, on the other hand, he has 8 goals and 4 assists in all competitions this season. A lot in the Conference League, to be fair. But what a season for Mandragora. I I think he's one of the players that remains a starter in the midfield for them next season. They are going to want to make some changes going into 2025-2026 season, because they've made some signings that haven't exactly worked out for them. But implementing Mandragora into the system really worked well. And he seems to have found his best form under Palladino.
Yes, absolutely. He has been a player with many injuries through his career. He was at Juve at one point, touted to be a very good and promising player. But yes, injuries unfortunately did halt him. But lately, when it comes to productivity and efficiency, he's really upped his game. And he's confident, he's feeling himself, he's playing a very important role.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he's one of the key players in that midfield. Also, I think Palladino has managed the team in 2 competitions very well.
Agreed.
Of course, they can run quite thin at times, but the substitutions that he makes are quite intelligent in that sense. They have a really, really tough game in the semi-finals of the Conference League.
Against Betis,
Real Betis have been magnificent to watch, and it's not only because of Anthony. They have Isco, who is a sensation. I've always said Isco, even at Real Madrid, I used to scream when he wasn't starting certain games after they signed him from Malaga. He's an incredible player. His turn, the way he turns with one touch, is one of the best I've seen in football. Really, really good little touches he takes on the ball, really good close ball control. And they have that Johnny Cardozo in the middle that comes in clutch with a few goals, can really control the tempo of the game whilst also being this box-to-box midfielder. They've got a really, really nice team. And their manager, Manuel Pellegrini, one of the most underrated managers. I believe he won the league with Real Madrid. He definitely got over 90 points with Real, and I guess that would have won them the league. And also won the Premier League with City. I don't know, he must be fucking 80, man. How old is Manuel Pellegrini nowadays?
I have no idea, but I'm looking at their squad right now, and I'm seeing some...
71,
yeah. I'm seeing some names that are throwbacks here. There's Ricardo Rodriguez at the back.
Yeah.
We've got Nathan from Napoli, remember?
Of course, the centre back.
Yeah.
/ he can also play as a wide back, I guess. Lo Celso, who's also a great player. Mark Bartra, who he's just extended his contract till 2027. Anyone else? Adrian, the keeper that was with West Ham, that took off his gloves and scored that penalty. Remember that?
Yeah.
William Carvalho, who was at Sporting Lisbon. A really, really, really nice team. And I'm not sure.
And they pass you out the park. Huh?
Yes, bro. I'm not sure Fiorentina have what it takes this season to beat Betis.
Fiorentina have a lot of European experience. Huh? They have the know-how now. They've made it to quite a few finals. So they don't have to get there. The problem is winning the final and then. But this opponent will definitely be tough, but it'll be a good battle. Both teams will be up for it, and both teams have their weapons. And Keane is back for this game.
You don't have plans on Thursday?
I might have plans on Thursday.
Disaster. The girls have plans, and there's this game on.
We'll see.
Okay. That really should have been after. Empoli, of course, on the other end of the spectrum. Wait, actually, before we go to Empoli, Fiorentina, they currently, just to whoop out the table and see the title implications at the moment, because they're not exactly in a terrible situation, Fiorentina. They're in 8th and they're only 1 point. Look at, bro, Fiorentina are straight up fighting for top 4.
Yeah.
Fiorentina are straight up fight. This was not the case 2 weeks ago. They're on 59 points. They haven't lost a game in around 5 matches, and they are just 3 points behind Juve in 4th.
Crazy, man. It's crazy.
It pisses me off because
Milan would have been in that situation if they took that fucking Atalanta game seriously.
Shut up.
Yeah, but when you asked me, can Milan get top 4? Imagine Milan had beaten Atalanta that game.
Milan beat Atalanta.
You all laughed at me.
Good one if Milan beat Atalanta. Allah.
But
that's crazy how Fiorentina can literally get 4th. What are they figuring? Now I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Wait till you find out Milan can still get 4th.
Fiorentina have Roma away, Venezia away, Bologna home. Oh man.
Madonna.
And Udinese away.
Madonna.
If you're not watching Serie A, what the heckin' shit are you doing, man? Studying and working, what's this? Empoli are in serious trouble now. It kind of looks like it kind of looks like some teams are now safe from relegation, and it only looks like there are 3 teams that are battling it out at the moment. So there's Lecce, who are in 17th place on 27 points, Venezia on 25, Empoli on 25. There are some possibilities for these guys to exit the relegation zone. Empoli suddenly now have a few favourable fixtures. After so many tough games with so many injuries, they have Parma at home, they have Monza away, and they have Verona at home.
And anything can happen. 12 points are up for grabs.
But if one of those are a win, if they win one of those games, it changes a lot. Parma home, Monza away, Verona home.
Who's this? Sorry, Empoli?
Empoli, yes.
Balls in their court.
Ball is absolutely in their court. They
have the most.
They can get points.
Yeah. And this is where their players can actually shine, because they have some players like Esposito and Fazzini against the big teams. Of course, it's a bit tougher for them, right? They're still young and all that. They don't have as much time on the ball. But against certain teams like this, lower teams, you can, like this game, Cagliari, for example, yesterday played Marin.
Yes.
Against Hellas Verona. He hasn't played in so long, but this was a game where they can actually attack the opponent comfortably. Yeah. And this would be these are fixtures where Empoli can utilize their creative players, the creative Italians.
Exactly. And like Fazzini has now scored in back-to-back games, so he's on good form. Esposito has been great for the entire season. By the way, Francesco Pio, Esposito renewed his contract at Inter till like 2029. And he's looking ridiculous, bro. He's looking mental. He's going to be the best Esposito.
Francesco Pio is the one with
Spezia.
The
other two are at Spezia. But Francesco Pio, the
striker, yes.
I believe so.
Because I mix up their names, man. The Regista isn't bad either, huh? But I think he's the worst of the lot. The Regista, to be honest. As in the least flashy.
15 goals in 31 matches in Serie B. He is...
Inter's new signing.
He's a forward. Yeah. Fantastic. Really.
These Espositos. We talk about Thuram.
The Esposito brothers. Watch out, parents. Can they get their first win of 2025? We will see.
Yes. Indeed, we shall. I say as I buy sometime. So, up next we have, oh God, Venezia 0, Milan 2. It was fine. Milan scored nice and early, thanks to a Kunde mistake, who played the ball directly to Milan, and some slick movement which we saw Fofana play. What I thought was a heavy pass, but it was controlled really well by Pulisic, who looked up, saw the keeper, placed it calmly. Very well taken goal in the 5th minute. And then after that, Venezia kind of grew into the game, man, and they pressed a lot. Yeboah had Pavlovic's number. He was destroying him, man. There were like 3 sequences in a row where Pavlovic
got floored
by Yeboah, literally, and he even scored.
Like Alfred Sant with that question.
You floored me.
You floored me with that.
What was the question?
They asked what member of the opposition party would you have a coffee with?
You
floored me with that
one. Sorry, Alfred. Yeah. So Yeboah scored, but it was disallowed because of someone was in an offside position and barely. It was Buzio's heel. Buzio's heel was just offside.
Crazy.
Yeah, and then Milan kind of contained. They minimized the damage in their 3 at the back system. Leao was very frustrating, killing every move pretty much for Milan. And then at the end, just as Santi Jimenez had come on and done absolutely nothing right, Reinders plays him a beautiful ball over the top. He chases it down, lets it bounce twice in front of the keeper, and goes for an audacious finish, chipping the keeper. And I do want to talk about Santi Jimenez because he was awful this game.
He was.
But but the way he maneuvers himself, it gets you on your feet before he actually does what he has to do, which is an indication to me of a player who's totally shot on confidence. He doesn't attack the near post when he should be. His movement, he's not feeling himself. He's not in that goal-scoring fucking mood. You know what I mean? And it's very clear to see. I think this goal at the death is massive, massive, massive for him and for Milan. What do you make of Jimenez as a player?
I think as a player, if you want a player that can get you goals, he's top. He's the kind of player you want to sign. I think what Milan have with their striker situation right now is a bit of an identity crisis. And I think he's suffering from that identity crisis, Santi Jimenez. Of course, he's been on and off with his injuries since he's arrived. He hasn't been 100% fit at any point. Had a good start, seemed to slow down, now got himself another goal. But my point is, Milan wanted a striker that can get you goals. Milan didn't want a Giroud, a Tammy Abraham or a Jovic that is going to set up the wingers or the attacking midfielders, which is strange considering that they're Pulisic, Leao and Reinders who can get so many goals if they have Tati Castellanos, Lukaku, Abraham, Jovic kind of forward. But Milan said we want to get ourselves a proper number 9. A number 9 that isn't too involved with the link-up play, that stays in the box and poaches goals. Now, it seems like when they brought him on over here, they kind of expect him to play deeper. And they kind of expect him to have that link-up play of Tammy Abraham and Jovic. Obviously, they don't expect him to perform to the same degree, but maybe they're trying to teach him a thing or two. But him being in between these two minds, from being provider and being that poacher that he is, at times he doesn't get into the positions he would naturally go to in time. He's a striker that would attack the near post. He's a striker that is constantly the runs he makes off the... Watch him at Feyenoord. He is trying to stay onside. That's what he's doing. He's trying to run forward and staying onside. He's looking for the long ball consistently. On the counter, he's a gem to have. Him, Leao, Pulisic on the break. 3 rapid players who are just looking to get forward.
But is he rapid? I don't see a rapid
He's not
player,
rapid, but in transition on the counter attack,
I'd much rather have Tammy or Jovic on a counter, personally. Because they link up so well.
It depends. Because what you're saying is having Abraham to play through Leao, to find Leao, to play a silky one touch. It's like he almost didn't touch the ball. It was so silky. And Leao's clean through on goal. I get you over there. But I think Milan are having an identity crisis with their striker. And because after bringing him in, they've seemed to notice. Because now, not only do they prefer Tammy Abraham to him, but they prefer Jovic as well.
It was literally exactly what Fonseca wanted in Morata, kind of,
Exactly.
the same type of player. Like,
do you agree with that? Do you think it's an identity crisis for the forward player that Milan are going through?
Unless it's different solutions for different games. Because if you're going to maybe play against Atalanta, then you need to have some players who are capable to transition well and to counter-attack well. Maybe Santi is good at counter-attacking and he can run in behind when he's in optimal condition, but it's not quite what we've seen so far, and especially with his confidence. But against Venezia, you expect a team that might sit back.
Exactly.
They might. I mean, Di Francesco has set them up quite defensively at times this season. So maybe having a fox in the box, someone who's a natural finisher, is better. So it's an interesting point. It doesn't help him as well, Santiago Jimenez, that his teammates can be so bloody selfish.
This is true.
Ruben Loftus-Cheek made everyone groan at one point. The whole stadium groaning. Because he got the ball. He drove well, numerical advantage. Pulisic open on the left and he shoots off target high wide. Not at all handsome. My girlfriend would disagree though.
Even mine.
They like Rube.
Especially they like Yildiz,
Coxal Baba.
Coxal Baba, yeah.
Another thing I want to point out is how important this 3 at the back formation is, because Milan's defense wasn't exactly good individually. However, they held firm structurally and it was enough. You know, had this been a 2 at the back system, I think Milan would have conceded this game for 100%. Sure. Because you see, Gabi on the goal that was offside, for example, was caught kind of flat-footed and stumbling. Pavlovic was done by his man on quite a few occasions. While Tomori, I think, had the best game of the lot. The better game of the lot. Yeah.
In the past 4 games, since Milan have played at the back formation in all competitions, they've conceded 1 goal, and that 1 goal came against Atalanta, which was a brilliant team move. It is simply the way to go for Milan. And it's not just because they're in crisis and because they don't have good defenders. The team is set up to have a 3 at the back formation. And part of the reason over there is they do need a midfielder. They need a midfielder to fit that a bit better than Fofana. With that
who
being
had
said,
his best game for us?
Who played well. He played well. Jimenez,
Which one?
not Santi.
Alex
Jimenez. Can we talk about how good he's been in this
so
3-4-3? Because I find that people are unfair towards Jimenez, and they're really critical of Jimenez, even after the Manyan collision. The amount of people chatting shit about Jimenez. He's a fucking kid.
19 years old.
He's 19 years old, and he's playing so well, and he wins the ball back, and he drags it forward, and he goes for 90 minutes. And over here, he picked up a knock. He had to be substituted. Otherwise, he would have played 90 minutes. He's been, as a wing-back, insane. Really, really strong option for Milan.
I agree. I think he's excellent, and I appreciate his work rate. His technical ability is good. He's confident enough to take on his man, and he often manages. He's stronger than his age, than his years would suggest. In fact, look at that. He won 5 out of his 7 ground duels, which was, he's not a big
and
guy.
look at his heat map. It's not like he's wasting a lot of time in the opposition area. He's defending.
He's great. I like Alex Jimenez a lot, and I think it's only a matter of time till Real Madrid call him back.
We'll see, unless they want to make a quick buck from us.
That's it.
Yeah.
Business. That's it. Nice to see Walker back. Is it?
Yes.
His arm.
It's nice to see. It's nice to see Walker back.
Yes, and you could see every woman in the stadium got uncomfortable when he came.
Walker can also fit in really nice. Where I see him fitting in more is in the right centre back role. I'm not looking at him and thinking right wing back, even though he's played there under Pep. I'm looking at him more and thinking right centre back.
It also depends on the opponent, maybe as well. Like if you have a team who aren't totally explosive against you and he can keep up with them. But I remember against Inter, there were certain moments against Thuram out wide where he got exposed. I was at the stadium. He totally did him for pace every time.
Walker.
Yeah. But I think this was a hard-fought victory for Milan in the end, to be honest. The goal came early, but they found themselves hanging on for the whole game, to be honest. Individually at the back, as I said, not sound. Offensively, not sharp, quite sluggish. Ruben being selfish, Leao being selfish at times. I thought Pulisic put in a vintage Pulisic performance over here, and it was nice to see him having a game like this, because it feels like it's been a while. I'm not sure if it's been a while, but it felt like it had been a while for Pulisic.
Contribution-wise, yes, he's always been solid, though.
Yes.
He's having a fantastic
season. In fact,
season.
since he last scored against Como in March 15th.
Not too bad.
Yeah, not bad.
I feel like you're being a bit harsh on Milan, saying that at the back, not too sound, not sharp up front. This was just after that Inter win. Days after, and there was little rotation. I think the only change made was Abraham for Jovic, and I think the team held themselves well. I think Conceição did decently when it comes to the substitutions as well, bringing on Jimenez and scoring, taking out Leao, and taking out Pulisic and giving Felix a run out as well. I know that Milan stayed 1-0 and they could have killed the game off earlier. Apart from the offside goal, I didn't really feel threatened by Venezia at any point of the game.
Manyan had to make a great save at one point to stop them from scoring in a one-on-one situation, pretty much, bro.
He did make a good save. But otherwise, I thought
at
Milan
the end of the day, they were always in the game, Venezia. Always, till the end. You know, that's the point. I mean, it wasn't a bad performance by Milan, but it wasn't anything special, you know.
No, nothing
the
special. The
important thing here was to win, to not relapse after such a good performance against Inter.
Exactly.
But it is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde completely with this Milan team, and it's difficult to understand them.
That's the entire season, eh? That's the issue
It's the team, it's the players, the performance. It's not only the season, even under Pioli, man. Sometimes I can't believe that Leao is the same player as Leao. You know, I can't believe Theo is the same player as Theo. You know, it's extremely high highs and low lows.
I think we need a full episode dedicated on Milan in the summer season, where we go through keep, sell, ala, bench, whatever. Yeah. Shall we jump to Atalanta Lecce?
Yes.
Guys, why do you keep Atalanta this slow down? They're still fighting. They're in third. For Lecce. We want to discuss them more as relegation candidates. Now, this game, actually, there's a crazy backstory to it, and a very sad backstory to it. The game was originally scheduled for Friday. This game ended 1-1, by the way. It was originally scheduled for Friday, but it was postponed when Lecce physiotherapist Graziano Fiorita suddenly passed away on Thursday at the age of 48. In protest at being asked to play so soon after the tragedy, they wore all white kits with only a black mourning ribbon and the motto, "No values, no colours." There were emotional scenes before kickoff as the players gathered around flowers on the touchline and a Graziano jersey. It was... These moments always make you... like in a strange way, it makes me smile. I'm not happy, but it almost gives me gratitude for how people come together in moments like this and how opponents come together. What got me was their own with the flowers. Like Atalanta would have brought them flowers. It's like it
held their hand
and been like, hey, sorry, we have to play today. It wasn't our decision either. We understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
And I just have there's a quote over here. Lecce believes that the decision of the Lega Italiana to play the game against Atalanta only several hours after the departure of our Graziano Fiorita is terribly disrespectful towards the grave loss that hit the family of the guy, the society, and the Lecce supporters. In other occasions, just as painful, more reasonable decisions were taken. What comes out is a hierarchy of death based on the blazon of the society hit by it, or, even worse, based on the role the person that leaves us. And let me tell you something, man. They've hit the nail on the head, because when Fiorentina's bloody owner passed away, and rightly so, they postponed the game. And when people needed to mourn the Pope, rightly so. But if a member of the team, the physiotherapist... A
story as well back in the day. I mean, this was a similar situation. This was at the team retreat.
What's the double standards?
It is disrespectful, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
And that was the first part of their statement. You know, they totally went off on them, saying that the values are not, they don't have any values, basically, the Serie and the Lega, and they actually went on the pitch without their colours. They wore all white with nessun valore, nessun colore written on their shirt, which means no values, no colour, of course.
Exactly.
It's really sad, and to be honest, funnily enough, in a way, it almost gave them more to play for, because they fought like rabid hounds without Kristovic this game, and Kristovic is such an important player for Lecce. So for them to get a point against Atalanta in a situation like this without their main striker, it goes to show they had that extra bit of motivation. So I'm happy that they channeled that rage and frustration into something that probably this physiotherapist would have wanted it.
Exactly. Yeah. I just think they carried themselves in the perfect way. What they did, obviously fighting, and the statement they made was perfect, nail on the head. The fact that they still showed up, but they showed up without their colours, amazing. And they actually said, because there was this whole thing where people almost expected them to make a mockery of the league by showing up with their youth players or forfeiting the game or whatever, and they're like, we're not going to fall to the level of the league and show that we have zero class. We're going to do it, but we're going to do it without our colours, because our spirit has gone with Fiorita. So
they said we won't wear our colours until he's back home.
Exactly.
Because he hadn't even been flown out.
His body is still away from his families, which is...
Fuck, too, it's fucked.
They were supposed to play on Friday. Oh, thank you. You moved it to Sunday.
Yeah.
It's a joke. Let's talk about the game.
And I doubt anyone knew the Pope and the games were postponed.
Who knew the Pope? No one knows the Pope. Anyway,
fucking hard.
it was a good game, and then a game that's 2 penalties straight down the middle were scored essentially. I was almost pissed at how Cuadrado won that penalty. I was almost like,
read the room.
Read the room. Why are you doing what you do when you get 3 penalties, bro? Like, it almost pissed me off. But a 1-1 draw. 2 penalties, as I said. Who were they scored by? So obviously Retegui equalized, making it 1-1, and he's actually, this is a talking point, his 24th goal of the season. He has equaled that Pippo Inzaghi club record from 1996-1997. Before we talk about that, I'll just say who scored for Lecce. Carlson scored the penalty. They both went straight down the middle. But I think instantly we can talk about Retegui and the season he's had. I mean, what is there to say? Out of the Italian strikers we've seen in recent history, we've seen great Italian defenders, we've seen good Italian midfielders, decent Italian wingers. The striker department is somewhere Italy have struggled with recently.
Yes.
You could argue Ciro Immobile, but when it comes to the Nazionale, and then he's essentially done close to nothing for the Nazionale. Retegui is a new lease of life. Retegui is a fighter striker. He's someone that has come in when given the opportunity to play for Atalanta. He's the capocannoniere instantly in his first spell at a top club.
Yeah.
You can say in a team that even when they had Duvan and Muriel, Gasperini rotated them, Retegui is almost untouchable. There are 2 occasions, I think, where he was benched so that they play a counter-attacking system with CDK and Lookman, but otherwise, he's untouchable.
I think that was more to catch the opponent off guard. It must also be said, though, that there's Scamacca there. Remember him?
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, right? Look how long he's been unavailable for. So, yes, but it is absolutely insane that the Atalanta legends that are Papu Gomez, Josep Ilicic, Duvan Zapata, Luis Muriel, who've scored so many goals for Atalanta, have never actually had a better season than Pippo Inzaghi that one season. Yeah. And Retegui in his first season matched it. Yes, He's having a great season, Retegui. And he's got that South American flair and fire about him, and that desire, that hunger, man. It's he's a very good striker, man. Very complete.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Retegui's been
not his best bit of form right now. He's not in the best form, but yeah, what he did this season was remarkable.
Yeah, and I think he'll have better luck in the Nazionale than Immobile. I think he's more adaptable than Immobile. I think Immobile suited a particular style that made him great at Lazio. I think Retegui is showing that he could be versatile in that sense because he's a true poacher.
Yeah.
You see the goals he scores, fantastic. Falcone was the standout performer in this game, however, keeping his side in the game with a series of big saves. Falcone, we've sang his praises multiple times. Falcone and Montepò are these goalkeepers that they always have the toughest job, right? Because their teams are battling relegation. Everyone's the favorite against them, and these are the guys keeping their teams in the game.
And they rack up some nice numbers when it comes to saves and percentages and things like that, because they're often tested, man. So they have the opportunity to really show what they can do.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, they always have the most saves in the seasons because they concede the most shots as well.
Exactly.
But this was, unfortunately, this game was... Rebic almost scored the goal of the season at a point.
I didn't see it.
The ball was almost going out for a throw-in at half pitch. And he just decided to sprint up to the ball to keep it in, and he shot, bro. He shot, and the ball was curling in. The keeper just got to it. But he went for, and if he did that, and the mood was morning, and he did that, I don't know what would have happened. It might have turned into a party if he scored that goal. But a symbolic match, unfortunately. Shame on you, Serie for that.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Lecce's remaining games: Napoli home, Verona away, Torino home, Lazio away.
Yikes.
This was a very valuable point for them.
It was.
Because they're, it's not looking good.
It was, but Lecce and these teams, I think at this point, this is where they fucking enter God mode, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They really, really, really amp their shit up.
Yep. We'll see.
Best part of the season yet to come.
Yes, sir.
All right, so Verona hosted Cagliari, and they lost. Right? To lighten the mood a little bit, they fucking lost Ben. It was a disaster of a performance, to be honest. It really was a disaster of a performance. Verona looked like they couldn't care less. Pavoletti opened the scoring in the 30th minute to give Cagliari the lead. It was a ball from Zito Luvumbo, one of those in-swinging crosses from the right side. This was kind of like one of the Serie B playoff vintage Cagliari games, with Luvumbo crossing it into Pavoletti. Gilardi and Coppola just let the ball.
Gilardi, man. Gilardi.
The worst of the lot.
Yes.
And then he got sent off later. They let the ball bounce from right in front of them. It fell to Pavoletti, who scored, I believe, don't quote me, his first goal of the season.
I think so.
I don't think he's actually scored this season. He's on the older side nowadays, and Nicola tends to prefer different profiles up front. Just to confirm that, no, he has scored before. 2 goals this season. Bravo.
Salametti.
Yes, Segna Pavoletti. So yes, Luvumbo was a constant threat on that right side, and he caused them many problems. And then in the second half, Gilardi was sent off. And during a counter-attack, it was Gaetano who broke free in a 2v1 situation with Deola on his left and a defender between them. Gaetano waited patiently. He put it on a plate for Deola, who finished easily, to be honest. And it was nice to see your friend score, bro.
Yeah, Deola. Bravo.
Yeah, so it was a well-deserved victory for Cagliari, who look so well-drilled this season, and they look like they mean business every single game, man.
I don't think they were ever complete, like oh shit,
they
Cagliari are going to get relegated.
Last year was scarier for them. They've taken
way scarier.
They've taken a step in the right direction, man. And considering they went from Ranieri to Nicola.
Full season, Nicola.
Yeah.
Full season, Love Island season 1.
I am proud of Nicola because he did a great job this season.
It wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy with Dave. These are very niche Love Island Malta season 1 references, guys. In case you're wondering what's going on right now.
Dying, man. Nicola. Had it tough in there with Dave.
It was hard. But yes, it's true though. He had a great season, a full season with them. Usually he's kind of a solution, a fixer man, but this is...
I said instantly, he fits Cagliari in that sense. Cagliari aren't a team of technical players, they're a team of grinta. And they've gotten a coach who, what does he have? Grinta. That's what Nicola's all about. Nicola's a motivator. He's a man manager. He's not exactly gonna go in there and make a team incredibly tactically sound. But they're going to absorb pressure, they're going to go on the break, and they're going to go until the last minute. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. What did hurt Hellas Verona, and has to be mentioned this game, is Suslov's injury, because he is quite a creative weapon for them. And we did stress early on in this episode that creative options are very important in these games between the minnow sides. In fact, Marin made an appearance looking like a completely different person, by the way. Marin. But yes, in the 28 minutes, Suslov went off injured, and that was a massive loss for them. But yes, I think overall, still great game by Cagliari.
Disappointing game for Verona. Obviously, they're really missing Davidovic as well, man. A team that was doing so well defensively over the past maybe 5-6 games, since I've said that famous quote. that Zanetti basically allows other teams to shaft his team defensively, and they open their legs to their opponents. They've been defensively sound, and Davidovic is obviously the spearhead of that Verona defense. They've really been missing him, and they've really been missing Kasper Tengstedt. That gives them
and Harui.
Something up front. And
all of them.
Harui just gives you that link from midfield to attack, as he did for Sassuolo, I believe.
Yes,
Harui?
yes. Dude, those are 3 big losses, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Particularly, and we say this every episode, Tengstedt.
Yeah.
Tengstedt is such a smart striker. You miss him all the time.
Yeah.
Ben sent a DM after the game and he said, what a shocking game that was. How have we managed to go clear and start to fuck it up now? And he's absolutely right, because Hellas Verona against all odds, despite being the team that has been freaking destroyed the most.
They didn't show up.
They didn't show up, and they've been on a bit of a downward trend now, and they're right back in the mix.
Yeah.
For relegation. So hopefully they can get their shit together for Ben's sake.
For Ben's sake. This one's for Ben.
This one's for Ben. Come on.
Exactly.
Ben. We named the episode Ben.
Ben.
Big Ben.
Benly Ben. Last game?
Yes.
Como 1, Genoa 0. Como survive.
Who would have thought, eh?
I mean, we all saw it coming. Their survival. Both of these teams were like comfortably mid-table. So they were both like in the mood to celebrate. The game was quite like fun.
While you set this up, can I play with your phone? I need to find something.
Sure, you can play with my phone, dog. No worries. So the Como were actually coming off 3 consecutive victories. This is their 4th consecutive victory. But Maxi Perrone was suspended. Sergio Roberto, Diao and Ossen are out for the rest of the season. Genoa had Ottawa banned. Cornet, Miretti, Malinowski, Maturo, Quencha, Onana, Ekuban and Balotelli injured. So it's just like at the start of the season under Gilardino, that amount of injuries. The decisive moment came in the 59th minute when Paz initiated a quick counter-attack. Obviously, Paz initiated it, feeding Cutrone down the left. His low cross found Strefezza, who made no mistake with his finish. A perfect example of fast vertical play that really has become Fabregas' trademark. Fabregas' philosophy is direct, high-speed attacking play, and that is what continues to deliver Como results. And what I love is the balanced approach that Fabregas takes. Like, he's known for that quick transition and that attacking dynamic play. But was there ever a moment where Como got absolutely destroyed and conceded 4 goals in a game? It's very, very rare. They remain sound defensively.
Absolutely, man. And I really like the first season that Como have had in Serie A under Serie.
What are you doing, bro?
I'm preparing for our segment because I forgot to prepare a quote, and I don't have my Instagram login here, and I'm like a boomer, man. I don't have the details like straight up. But yeah, I think that Fabregas' first season in Serie A has been a success, a massive success. Como's first season in general, and I do expect big things, surprisingly big things from them next season, because the foundation is very solid. It looks really fun to play for them, so I think they'll have a good pull. The atmosphere, the vibe, the celebrity culture kind of around it, but at the same time,
Brody in the stands, like,
but at the same time, it's still a club of the
name?
people, because you see
Terry Crews,
and Thierry Henry and all those guys.
Henry.
So it's true, it does look like a nice place to live and to work, quite frankly. And you'll be managed by Fabregas, one of the greats. And
he's staying there as well. Yeah. He's made it very clear.
What's the update with Nico Paz, man? What's going on there?
I don't know.
I don't know, man. Hopefully he stays. I know Inter have been flirting.
No, but I think we said this in the last episode. We had figured it out, the Nico Paz contract situation. I think they have him on loan for another season, and then he's off back to Madrid, no?
So apparently, there are some rumors right now that he will be going back to Real Madrid.
Where? What rumors?
Over here, Como announced Paz's goodbye, but that's
not exactly a great source.
It's not a great source.
No, there's nothing at the moment.
So
here
1
it says
week
his
ago,
contract expires in 2028. He joined. Real have a buyback on him. He's not on loan. That's one thing to talk about. They have him until 2028. This is destroying me because...
You know what he said, Nico Pazman? He said that his dream is to play with Yamal. It's a dream of his to play alongside Lamine Yamal.
Is he fucking crazy, man? That's not good for any part of his life, as in like any part of his relations.
Yeah. But
One sec, because we had nailed this on. I believe... So, Como got him for 6 million.
Yes.
But Real Madrid will be owed half of the future sale fee and have, crucially, also retained a buyback clause in case they want him to return.
From 9 to 11 million, they can buy him back.
Exactly, that's it. But he's on contract until 2008. So, till 2028. Either they can decide for Como to sell him and they take 50% of that. So if Inter buy him for 40 million, Real get 20 million, or else Real can just buy him back for 11 million. So that's that. We'll see what happens over there. Hopefully they can keep him because he's really crucial. But I really trust in Como's recruitment. Because that's one thing they've really done well, man. Even they brought in Cacaret and Diao and Decone. And they've been nailed down starters, man.
They've been excellent, And then they buy smart, I mean, he hasn't been flashy by any means, but Dossena, for example, was a smart signing.
Dossena, they're three centre-backs, they're three main centre-backs. Dossena, Kempf and Goldaniga have been incredible.
It's true.
They've been really, really good. Three super underrated centre-backs. I'm really excited to see...
And even Voivoda has been playing well. I thought Voivoda was kind of...
done.
Undeployable nowadays.
And Dacunia, I really, really enjoy watching as well. But anyway, we can go on all day about these little cool niche players that Como have. I'm really excited to have them back playing Serie A in 2025-2026. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the summer market. Now they can let their hair down a bit, not upset anyone, actually give people a reason to survive and a reason to play. But one player I want to point out from Genoa that I barely see him have a bad game, man, is De Winter. De Winter, man, is such a good defender. I think De Winter is due a step up. Every time I see him, even in set pieces moving forward, he gets involved so much in the attack. I really, really rate De Winter. It's game after game after game after game.
So let's remember that he came from Juventus.
Oh, he did.
Yes. And he has now started to make appearance for the Belgium national team as well. So his trajectory is definitely upwards. He's only 22 years old. And he's a very exciting player, in my opinion. As well. I agree. They have some players in Genoa who are little diamonds in the not necessarily in the rough, but they're little gems. Like
remember they had Dragosin as well.
Yeah. Friendrup and De Winter, in my opinion, are great.
Yeah, for sure. Even Aaron Martin. Aaron Martin. But I think that's enough for this episode. We can jump to our ending segment over here. Wisdom with the Wank.
Yes, for those of you who are new here, we take a look at Simi Nwankwo's Instagram page, the Simi Nwankwo, of course, who currently plays for Salernitana and Serie B, who finished a season with, 20 goals or something for Crotone, one of the highest scoring Africans of all time in Serie A, top 3, yeah. Because there's Osimhen and
Osimhen.
Yeah, exactly. And he always posts these motivational quotes on Instagram, and they're great. This is today's. Human relationships are the key to personal and professional success. Do you agree?
Relationships are the key to personal and professional success. Yes.
Yes, in Maltese,
in many ways.
Yes, in Maltese we have a saying that kind of agrees with this, right? Mux kem taf, imma l-min taf, which means it's not how much you know, but who you know that counts. And yes, human relationships are the key to professional success for that reason. Yes.
I don't think you need to be everyone's friend to be happy.
Ooh.
I think that's actually, you will be a lot more self-fulfilled if you learn how to say no, disagree, and have healthy conflict. But with that being said, we all need people close to us.
Yes.
And we all need people that we can confide in. So exactly. I agree, Simi.
It's free therapy, my friends.
Exactly.
Well done, Simi.
Well done, Simi, and well done to all of you.
Well done if you've made it this far. If you made it past the what was it well done.
Mkhitaryan post-match press conference. Amazing.
Even the analogy you made, what the fuck was it, man?
When they keep trying to fuck with a flaccid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's
so let's see if tomorrow Inter get themselves a Viagra and do what needs to be done against Barcelona, dude.
Amazing.
Let's see. Ciao, ciao. Good luck in Teristri.
Ciao. Love you all.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
The football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake?
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.